we are live. There's my new neighbors up here. Did not realize they're joining our call. My name is Miller. I work for a little phone company. I do a lot of operation stuff, organizational, and also dabble in some content strategy, among other things. I've been on here before, so my story and what I do is kind of on those. If you want to go back, I believe they're all archived on YouTube. Also today, I'm hopping on our Instagram stories to kind of share what a day in our life is like. So if you want to head over to our Instagram account, you'll be able to follow along with that. And you can also send in questions and stuff, and I'll try to answer those about myself, company, stuff like that. Also, occasionally a cute 7-month-old might occasionally pop up on those. I do apologize. You can hear a lot of birds and stuff, but my lifestyle is pretty much oriented towards working outside as much as possible, especially due to us spending as much time inside as possible with the current situation. So it's beautiful. I'm going to be outside right now, so my apologies. As I mentioned, I work with a lot of the organizational and with our team, and as I was thinking about things I wanted to talk about today, it kind of boiled down to we had a big group conversation on Friday, and this was part of it, and kind of the results of that conversation was really something that struck me in a great way, and I think it really positively impacted us, and it's something maybe I think it's something that it's worth sharing because we gained knowledge from someone else, and it's worth passing on that knowledge. But essentially, when we went into quarantine, we were going to create a field. We expected, we equipped our guys with computers, and they have access to cameras, stuff like that. And we're like, this whole world, 8 weeks ago when we went in, like, you can shoot anything you want, you can do anything, be creative, pitch us ideas, like stay sharp and all this stuff. And we thought that was the best thing for us. And going back, it probably was the best thing for what we learned. And that was, that's not the way to be creative. It's what we saw from our team and what we talked to them was that they need to have a container to play in. If you have like an empty field and can say, do anything you want, it's really tough to build something there. It's really tough to come up with an idea. And even when we're in the office, we have the parameters of working with this client on this platform for this audience for this purpose. And when we didn't provide those, it really almost limits how you can be creative. And I think that kind of building containers is what we learned in a very positive way through what I call kind of the first quarter of quarantine. It's like those first 2 weeks, we really struggled as a team and I think we struggled as a leadership. We didn't really understand why more things weren't being creative. And I think our creative team, we did them a disservice by not giving them better prompts or better understanding of what they could or couldn't do or help them or be supportive. And I think that really falls on our shoulders. Like obviously we were frustrated because nothing was being created, but that was a problem that we brought along by not being as organized as we should have, and we never would have known that would be an issue until we went into quarantine. So great learning. We kind of took that and said, all right, let's move into the second quarter where we started. You've seen a lot of internal projects we've done. They've been on Facebook, Instagram stories, LinkedIn. Essentially every week until this week for the past few, we've given everyone one day of the week. They all have there's been things where they've been given stock footage and they have 8 hours to edit into something, or they've been given like a toy from Amazon and they have 8 hours to, without knowing what the toy was, they have to open it and then they have to create in 8 hours an ad. We've done a lot of little challenges like that. I think that's been good to kind of reintroduce those containers we talk about. So saying, here's kind of the prompt of what we're doing, here's the what we're trying to attempt, the purpose, stuff like that, and seeing them succeed. And then also we're seeing that it's really difficult to build something in 8 hours, and it's really difficult to meet our standards. And that's something we heard a lot from our guys, and I think we'll continue to do those in the future because they taught us a lot. And I think to a person, the guys who are handling our cameras, doing our editing and stuff like that, think it's valuable. But also there's a pretty high rate of like creative burnout because you're going so fast through this and you're trying to build the best possible product that, one, you're never going to be satisfied because you can't ever put the final touches you want to on it, and two, it's just like you have a full day where you're in the trenches trying to build something, and all of a sudden like you're exhausted, and the next day you're kind of burnt out. It was good, but now as we move into what I'm calling the third quarter, we want to build big projects together the best we can. So it's going back to how do we be creative in a group? How do we Duncan's always said that one of our strengths is there's no judgment within our creative meetings. I could come in and say the world's dumbest idea, and someone can say, hey, like, I understand where you're coming from. That's ridiculous, but I appreciate you bringing it. And I think that's as negative as we get. So we want to get back to that structure where people can work together, can feel free to ideate, to build, to kind of bounce off each other. And we have a couple big projects we're working on, and then we'll probably either shoot individually or as we move into the different phases of this lockdown order, we will find what are the appropriate ways to be out there in the safe ways. So that's kind of the third quarter, is beginning to work together, look at internal projects that aren't necessarily 8 hours long, but how do they build them out a little bit longer, that they challenge the guys continue to get better, they have cameras in their hands, they have editing reps that they need, but they're not feeling like that constant burnout that we saw an improvement from the first quarter, because we were actually like building beautiful things. And then the second quarter, it was, oh man, we're building beautiful things, but this is like wearing me down. And to the third quarter, like, let's get back to that collaborative environment and take everything we've learned and the skills we've developed and build something beautiful. And then the fourth quarter, I don't know when it starts or what it is, and maybe we're starting to merge into it, but for me, that's the preparation. And like one thing we've been thinking a lot about the past week or so is, what does 2020 look like for a company that has to be out in the world, has to have camera in their hands, and has to be able to film people and be on set with people and interact with strangers? And how do we keep ourselves and our community and even the strangers safe? So it's working with our producer, Jamie, like what are North Carolina has a three-phase or a three-tier system until finally we return to more of a normal life. I don't think we'll ever get back to fully normal, but what does each of those phases look like for us as a company? What can and can't we do? What commitments we are going to have to safety, and talking through masks, gloves, sterilization of equipment, things like that. Because we also know, like, I will give every guy on our team a pat on the back that they've done a pretty dang good job of socially distancing, especially, and it's really tough. And they've done a really good job with it. But now, how do we continue to, as we work with clients, make sure that they feel safe on set? How do we make sure that as we go out into the world and work together, that we're not bringing anything into our homes and we're protecting our loved ones? And so it's something that's weighing pretty heavy on us as leadership team we're talking about. And then we have an excellent producer. Jamie is incredible in terms of his organization. He's the most organized 23-year-old. He's probably more so than me a lot of times. And I think I'm so excited to see how he builds out a plan that is that also isn't cumbersome. I think that's important, that we're able to be safe, but also we're able to still, what we always done is be pretty nimble within our environment. So we want to still be able to do that. And so that's kind of what I want to hop on and talk about. It's like how we've learned that our team needs a little bit of containers to play within. I think any creative does. And it's easy to, like, the easy thing was to take off the restrictor plates and say go crazy, but that was probably the worst creative thing you can do, because it opens up so many possibilities. It's infinite that you can never really get started. I think that we learned that we can have short little challenges and stuff like that, but the quicker the content we make, like when we're going to lean into quick content, like that's stuff that works. Like people want those short social bits, like in 48 hours. But even when we're doing that, even if it's a short bit, it takes a pretty big toll on us in terms of mentally. So making sure we protect our guys as they work on this project. So you may have to build all those, and like that's part of the job. But then how are we going afterwards and making sure that they are rested, that they can, take a breath and stuff like that. And then also, like, how do we work as a team, especially as we're apart? I think as a company, we always talk about how do we grow and how do we get into other markets and how do we travel and do stuff. And I think this has been excellent practice for us to see, how do we do that? What's good, what's bad? As a project manager, I've learned like how to work with people, how to set deadlines, how to be more flexible than I would, and then also how to like be more present than I ever would. I don't want to ever be someone who's hand-holding, but I think certainly in circumstances like this, I need to be almost like a friendly pat on the shoulder. And we have morning meetings that we have that I go through every project and stuff like that. And that's been extremely beneficial. But that's essentially what I have. I have to go back, hop back on and work on Instagram stories and things like that. If you go through, there's a way you can ask questions or you can reply, and I'll try to get to those. I think it could be a lot of fun. Really a lot of open door and a lot of that stuff, except there'll be some things. I am somewhat of a private person, but also if you need any extra incentive to watch that, we have a pretty cute 7-month-old who will make a few appearances. I've negotiated with my wife Brittany that he can make a few appearances on Instagram today, so we'll be definitely showcasing him a little bit. But I hope everyone's staying safe. Please feel free to reach out. If it's not Instagram, it's miller@thelittlefield.co. LinkedIn's a great place to meet me. Especially if you're in this field with us, like, how are you looking to come out of this? What safety, like, that's something I'm talking to a lot of people about. It's like, what are peers doing in terms of making sure that they stay safe and their clients stay safe as we head into, you know, a month, 2 months, 3 months, as we're able to get back on and start doing what we love. How are we making sure we stay safe? But appreciate you guys' time. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much, and stay safe.